ready? Good. All right. Thank you. Good evening. Yes. I'd like to call to order the August 25th, 2022 regular meeting of the Naperville Park District Board of Commissioners. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Bridget, would you please call roll?
President Gibson?
Here.
Vice President Ruffing?
Here.
Commissioner Ansier?
Here.
Commissioner Janner? Absent. Commissioner McBroom?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Todd?
Here.
President Gibson, I've been notified that Commissioner Janner has requested to participate remotely due to out-of-town business.
Okay. Move to allow remote meeting participation of Commissioner Janner as allowed per Section 7 of the Open Meetings Act.
Second.
All right. Voice vote, please. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Bridget, are there any matters from the public?
I have none.
Okay, thanks. Next is the consent agenda, please.
Item 3.1, approve July 28, 2022 regular meeting minutes. 3.2, approve August 11, 2022 regular meeting minutes. And 3.3, award the contract for the Frontier Sports Complex and A. George Pradle Park fence repairs project to Proline Fence Company in the amount of $103,520.
Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately? No?
Move to accept consent agenda items 3.1 through 3.3.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Vice President Ruffing?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ansier?
Yes.
Commissioner Janner? Yes. Commissioner McBroom?
Yes.
Commissioner Todd?
Yes.
President Gibson?
Yes.
Move to approve consent agenda items 3.1 through 3.3.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. New business, mid-year review and 2023 budget preview presentation.
Yes, thank you. This evening, we would like to provide the board with our annual mid-year review to provide an overview of where the district is at so far through the course of 2022, as well as give a preview of budget and some of the major items that we will be looking ahead to 2023 to complete. As far as the 2022 overview, we're nearly 2/3 of the way through this year, and we are in a strong financial position. A lot of that is due to the fact that our major facilities and our programs are performing very well, which you'll hear a bit about tonight from some of our staff. But overall, we're in a very strong position financially as an organization. We're also in a solid position when you look at overall participation within our programs. We're seeing great recovery in a number of areas, as well as facility utilization that is increasing, especially with our indoor facilities. We do still have some challenges, though. We're still seeing challenges with achieving our required staffing levels, specifically in areas like our park and golf maintenance, custodial, trades divisions, as well as food and beverage. That has been a challenge really for the past couple of years and continues to be, especially this year. And there's a number of things that we have done as an organization in an effort to recruit and retain staff, which we'll provide an overview on this evening. We're also seeing challenges, much like many other businesses in the world today, with securing supplies and equipment. An example being a number of our fleet items, whether it be tractors, trucks, those pieces of equipment that are critical for us to be able to perform the work out in the parks and to keep equipment up and running. That's something that we worked with the board earlier this year to change up our procurement process so that we could accelerate and be able to get onto the list faster. Unfortunately, we've not seen many results from that yet because we're just still seeing such a delay with a number of the manufacturers in getting some of the vehicles to us. So again, something that will continue to be a challenge, but that we're looking for ways to be able to work around that. With that, I'll turn it over to Andrea and Kevin to talk a little bit about our facilities.
Hello, there we are. Okay, there we go. So I want to start out by first prefacing Centennial Beach. We're doing really well. We're pretty much at this time consistent with last year. However, the month of August has not been good to us, especially last weekend. So we're looking at net income consistent with 2021 at $277,000. Daily attendance, which is our dailies that come in, is at about 61,000 visitors. Memberships, on a good note, has already exceeded budget by 6,000, so we're right there with memberships. The Centennial Grill filled about 12% more orders, 27,228. Of that, a new thing that we added this year was the online ordering. And we found that it was very successful. Probably about 5% of the orders that are here is online ordering. So we know that we have some work to do for next year, but it was very successful and a positive change to get the lines moving faster. Fitness memberships, revenue is up 39% versus last year, and usage is up 55%. So overall, it's trending slightly higher, so we're looking good on that end. Thanks.
Much like what Andrea was talking about, things are going rather well right now with golf also. Our year-to-date rounds are meeting expectations, but if you had asked me that question back in April, I would have said there was no chance because this spring started out so difficult for us with the weather, the cold, and the rain. We were behind on maintenance, and obviously the golfers had a tough time getting out there. So we were as much as 50% behind rounds after April and about the same amount compared to 21. Move ahead to about the middle of May and then through July 31st, and we completely flipped over. Rounds have skyrocketed, and we're actually at a pace ahead of last year for June and July if we compare the two periods. Our range and our golf programs are also doing very well. Our range this year is about 25% ahead of budget. A lot of that is from bringing on Naperbrook after we reopened after the renovation last fall. That has performed really well, and we're seeing a lot of extra revenue coming in through that practice facility. And our program, both golf courses are seeing extraordinary numbers in programs. For the year, our programs are up about 10% for participation, and our private lessons right now are showing about a 13% increase. Memberships overall are up about 6%, which is a great number, but if we look back at pre-COVID numbers, 2019 and before, we're up about 26% in memberships. And overall, revenues between the two golf courses right now through July 31st are up about 14%, and we're still seeing continuing good numbers over at Naperbrook, and obviously a little bit different right now at Springbrook with the golf course closed for renovations, but the driving range over at Springbrook is still performing very well.
All right, so as you can see up there, we're looking really good. The participation and programs overall are ahead of budget. I could have picked any program for the most part and showed similar type of numbers ahead of projections. So day camp was probably one of our biggest highlights. As you can see, we had 15% increase over 2021. So that was just a great, and that was just for our day-long day camps. Dance, preschool, Premier Athletics, all of that the Premier Soccer is all above where we were last year. Do keep in mind, last year we also had the beginning part, or this year we had the beginning part of this year, we were still under some COVID protocols. So we really started to see trends getting better starting in March, where first day registrations were much higher than they were the previous year. So we're really trending in a really good way. Birthday parties, surprising. We're finding that this is one of those programs that people are still want to have their parties here instead of in their own homes. So we're really seeing that one jump quite a bit, along with the aquatics, which is mostly, a lot of this is our indoor swimming that really came on strong this year. couple of programs that we're still seeing a little bit of that we need to bounce back are our senior trips. They're not coming back just yet. And our adult athletics, although they're doing fine and they're doing well, they didn't bounce back as quickly as the youth athletics. So we'll see, hopefully this fall we'll be jumping higher. So that's all, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to take it over from here, and after all that great news, I get to talk about our challenges for this year. And I will just say for most of these items, we're just going to assume they're going to flow into 23 and potentially 24 for a lot of these. So our first one, we've talked about all of these before, no surprise. Significant inflation means for us higher expenses. Where we've really seen the big jumps are commodities. Our fuel budget, we're anticipating to be 30% over a typical year, just not on usage, but just on the price increases itself. Chemicals for the beach, even though we're doing well, everything, like in our homes, everything is costing us more, which is a challenge. Fortunately, as we'll talk about how we are on expenses, we know in some areas, such as personnel, we've been under because we haven't been able to hire people. And we haven't used as much maybe fertilizer and plant protectants because we haven't had the people that have been putting those out. So overall, budget-wise, we're not completely blowing the roof off of our supply and commodity budgets. However, it is still a challenge, and we anticipate, based on the CPI numbers we've seen to date, that is going to go into next year. Brad had mentioned supply chain issues for equipment and also for some of our park renovations. We've had to defer things. We actually completed some park projects that should have been done last year but rolled into this year. We had one, I think, that we deferred until next year. But that continues to be a real issue. The vehicle and equipment is just, it's mind-boggling how we have money we want to buy and we can't. We've changed up what we've done as far as the purchasing networks we typically would buy vehicles from. They're not, number one, the contracts aren't even out there, but by the time you would get a list going, dealers are able to sell vehicles right off the lot on the market. So our faith that we're going to be able to buy things through our traditional purchasing markets, we're not even counting on that. So, Tim and his team with Fleet have done a lot of work looking throughout the country, for example, for vehicles that we can buy off the lot and then have to outfit them once they get here, which is a different way of looking at how we would usually do our vehicles. Usually we'd get them from the dealer, we would have all the special equipment put on, and then we would get them. And we have to change the way we're doing things if we are going to get them. So, for example, we had planned to buy 8 trucks this year. We ordered 2 of them, and we're not confident that those are going to be delivered this year. So even if we do get them, it's most likely going to be in 23. And the other 6, we have nothing. So, but have faith that we are maintaining our current fleet. We have staff that can make what we have last. Things are getting done. We've had some issues with breakdowns earlier in the spring, if you remember, that have been challenging. So we're just being patient and trying to, get through this. The other thing I would just mention are the markups on some of the vehicles that we're seeing. So I'll give one example of a police car that last year cost us about $47,000, completely outfitted. Now we're looking at about $59,000 for the same vehicle with the same equipment put in. If we can get that. So we're seeing that throughout the system. We are fortunate here that we have money in our capital that we've been able to, if we can get these, still go ahead and purchase things without hurting the system, if we can get our hands on them. The next thing, staff recruitment, retention, and compression. And we're looking at this as a challenge. And the next slide, I'm going to talk about the good things we've done and the progress we've made. But this still really has been an issue. We'll start with recreation. And what we saw when we came to you earlier in the year was panic mode because no one was applying for a lot of our programs, right, Andrea? I mean, we were not seeing applications. What we did find for some of our programs later on, the kids for summer, they applied very late. Maybe they were who knows why, they were job searching, but they applied late. So we were able to fill a lot of those positions that we were thinking, what are we, are we gonna have to cancel a lot of things if we can't do this? So that is the one thing that we had seen specifically for parks. What we're still seeing are a lot of our managers are still picking up slack because we just don't have the part-time help. And you can see from the demand, which we'll talk about, people want their kids in programs. And we'll talk about the wait lists in a minute. So to keep everything moving, the current staff that we have, which we recognize what a great job everyone is doing, are still working harder than they ever have to pull off the programs in an excellent way. So parks, again, I could give a today example. We hired a full-time park specialist. We were excited. The team spent a lot of time between HR and parks interviewing. It's constant for them. And before he even started, he found another job. And we're finding, so parks continues, not just part-time labor, even on a full-time basis, to get them fully staffed and get people trained. They're working with equipment. It continues to be very, very challenging from that aspect. So let me jump back to parks, because there's one thing I'd like to mention of what we have done. Everyone's been trying to be creative, and I know one of the things Andrea shared with us is you recall day camps. We were having issues with camp counselors, and we couldn't get them early on. So that team said, let's find a way to make the program more efficient. So they went through and really redesigned the whole camp program on ages. So we could fit different ages. And Andrea, feel free, if I'm saying something wrong, change the age groups per class so we could accommodate more participants and also have the staff to do that. So that was one thing. We're looking at everything to try and make it work. Our demands for facilities. We have wait lists. It's a good problem, I guess, if you're going to have one. Gymnastics, early childhood, and little sports classes are our top wait list items consistently. And that's been like the past several years, but it's even more now. Not only do we not have facility space to expand these programs, but we do not have the staff in order to do that. So we continue to try and, again, accommodate as many people as possible. And it'll be really good that we're all going into a strategic planning session, and then we'll be talking about these things and what the future direction we're going to be facing to solve this and to provide more services for the community. Open gym. Now that's kind of interesting. Pre-COVID, open gym, we know we had the sign out the door that it was closed because the gym was full. We had a lot of people. COVID came, open gym kind of fell off. We're seeing now a lot more use with the open gym here, but because we had the mitigations last winter, now is where we're really curious to see how it's going to be this fall and winter. If it's going to come back to pre-COVID levels, and we do anticipate that. Pickleball and basketball are two of our most popular programs, and we're anticipating we're going to be jammed with open gyms. So we'll be updating you maybe come at the end of the year on how that's going, or actually through the year on how that space is going, because it's been coveted in the past. So we're going to be happy though to fill that also. And then our volunteer program, and I'll end with this of our challenges, because we are so grateful for our volunteers. We are still rebuilding that program, and it's mainly in the park areas where we're still not up to the numbers that we had before, and also our high school students that have really helped us out. We see the high school students are starting to come back. In the parks, though, it's still light, and that's one of the areas that's visible and that we see the most. We don't have all that help with our staff that's already short and overburdened to work on our parks, trails, and areas. for that. As far as volunteers for coaching and programs, that is awesome. We are, fully volunteer staffed for that area. So, but take a look at the blue after all that doom and gloom, right? We are still going to end in a strong position. Our numbers are higher than they've ever been. So while these are challenges, we look forward to working all together to, to face them and make it better. Okay, so now I'd just like to focus a little bit, because we talked early on our what can we do that's different, and what can we do to bring people in here? And after talking about all those challenges, we thought we would share with you, kind of in summary, what we have done throughout the year to try and attract staff, retain them, get them to even apply. So we'll start with community outreach. You remember the water bottles. We had people in parking lots during high school handing those out everywhere we were going. We're handing the water bottles that had information about applying here. Katie talked a lot about the job fairs that we had hosted, and also the visiting of high schools, which is really key. And that's something we've done before. If you recall, Jackie and her team started doing that. They'd go into high schools for the beach, for lifeguards. And that was key because we were in early getting those kids for lifeguard positions. We know that everyone has not been as fortunate in the area where they couldn't even open up their pool for the year. We were able to do that. We did have certain areas that were closed occasionally, maybe the deep end throughout the year, but really on the peak times when it was hot and people needed to be there, our beach was open and we had qualified lifeguards, and that was all because of really being proactive early on and trying to get those kids out of, going into their school to get them. We had stickers that were handed out. I think board members even were handing out at the St. Patrick's Day parade stickers for hiring. Looking at incentives, what we've done. Brand new, we had a bonus to the public, a $100 gift card for a referral. Out of that program, we had 7 new hires. So that was successful, we think, for our first time. We had signing bonuses for new staff. We had 119 of those bonuses this year. And then lastly, our employee referral program, we had a total of 70 of those through the year. So that's been pretty successful, at least to get people through the door, and we will continue doing that. In the past, our incentives were very time-based. We might have done it for a certain season, and now it's ongoing. That program doesn't have an end date. It's just out there, and hopefully we continue to get interested people here. As far as advertising and promotion, and Sam's team in marketing, these are all the things they've done. We had a summer jobs campaign. We had a lot of public relations, a lot of media releases. We put QR codes on all our facilities so you could scan it and see the open positions that were at the district. We even put pavement decals out. And then we had a lot going through on social media. And then internally, what did we do? HR worked on a new application platform to make it easier to apply here, so people don't go, ugh, too hard, I don't want to do this. I'm going to, walk in somewhere else and get a job. We did, as you're aware, this is for retention. We did mid-year wage adjustments for staff and market value adjustments. And also focusing, which we always have done here, but important not to call it out, to focus on the employee culture. You all know we did a employee survey, and we're working through those, and we'll be acting on that. It's not just going to be a survey that we don't do anything with. And also HR has developed some other programs. We fund Fridays to get employees engaged and lighten things up, and I think they played kickball for an hour at lunch. And so there's different things that we're trying to, keep people happy too and relieve some of the stress. And then in some of the departments, we moved some part-time positions to full-time. So that was very positive for the people there. Okay. Okay, capital. An overview of where we are. So we had 4 playground ribbon cutting events and the brand-new fitness court that were done this year. Some of our other major programs that we're working on now is the North Shop renovation. As Kevin, and you'll learn later today more about the golf course renovation at Springbrook. We have the new Rothermel pickleball court project that is going to be starting this year, and that's at Frontier. And also, we have a big lighting project at Frontier that we're working on. We also had some project deferrals and equipment deferrals, and we've talked about that. We have mainly vehicles, equipment that we're pushing out, and some other project based on being able to get equipment and the timing that we're going to be rolling into next year's budget. So overall, we're anticipating $12.7 million in capital improvements. That includes projects and also vehicles and equipment. Our budget was $13.1 million. So we're about 400 light. When we actually put these numbers together after doing some estimates, we took a step back and said, wow, with everything and all the challenges, we were still able to bring to the community $12.7 million in improvements. There were a couple projects that weren't planned for that came up that helped with that. We moved things around. We have some 2021 that rolled in. The unspent dollars, we know we're going to be having to use for next year for all the vehicles that we were supposed to get this year will be rolled into next year. So really 3% short on at least a dollar basis on our goals. As far as projects goes, Eric and his team typically are doing 50, maybe 50 projects a year. We're over 80 or 90. You know, some may be small, some may be larger, but the number of projects that we have our hands in is extremely significant. So, you know, planning staff everyone, it starts with planning, but then it goes to every department, has been very busy on the capital side.
And then as we look ahead to next year, a few of the items that we're going to be focusing on, and especially as we look ahead to putting together the 2023 budget, continuing to invest in attracting and retaining our staff across the organization. Many of the retention efforts and the recruiting efforts that Sue mentioned are going to continue next year, and we're also going to look at ways to be able to expand upon that, especially in those areas where we are seeing the greatest challenges with getting staff right now. What are additional things that we can do to incentivize people to want to come and apply for and work for the Naperville Park District. Leveraging innovation to continue to conduct parks maintenance differently to help overcome the challenges and meet our standards. That's something that we've already begun this year, and I see us expanding next year. That's working with Tim and his staff in identifying the gaps where we do not have the staff or the hands to be able to get it done internally. How can we begin to utilize more contractors to come in and help with those efforts? So, for instance, we brought in a contractor to begin helping with some of the maintenance on the Riverwalk this year to supplement our crews, since we've not been able to meet the standards that we have for maintaining that asset. Looking at and bringing in a contractor to do mulching within the parks, assisting with just getting mulch around the tree rings, looking at adding the engineered wood fiber to our playgrounds to be able to help our trades division. So that's something that I see as we're putting the budget together. We know that we've had challenges getting staff in certain areas. We're going to need to look at other ways to be able to accomplish those tasks. We're also looking at it from the standpoint of what are the high maintenance areas within parks. So when you see large landscape beds, landscape beds typically result in then greater maintenance that's required. You've got the weeding, you've got to keep control of those beds to keep them looking in good condition. In some of those areas, we may begin to reduce the size of those beds or eliminate them and replace them with whether it be turf or some other type of maybe low-mow turf area that does not require the amount of maintenance that's needed for a maintenance bed, but still aesthetically looks pleasing and looks good. Working with Eric and his team when we look to design parks or when we're renovating a playground. Again, looking at landscape beds or how can we design them in a way that from a maintenance standpoint as we have that going down the road, it's easier for our staff to be able to maintain and to keep up on. Working with community and regional partners to help create a career path for future parks and recreation industry candidates. We're seeing in certain areas, such as with our golf specialist areas and golf maintenance, as well as some of the horticulture and some of the turf positions that we have, that there just simply are not the applicants, the candidates that are out there. The pool is not there like it once was. And we're even seeing in some of the college programs, they're not seeing the number of students within those areas. So how can we attract and bring in skilled or good employees and then provide them with the skills to be able to take on those additional responsibilities in the future? This is something we've already submitted with NIU, a potential capstone project for their master's students to be able to assist the Park District with putting together a program like this. So we look forward to hearing back from the university to see if that is picked up as a capstone project. If not, it's still something that we're going to look to pursue next year as a different way to be able to attract individuals to join us. We certainly have the new strategic plan that we will be doing quite a bit more work on this fall. That process has already begun. And then the master plan that will also be updated based upon the results from the community survey, all the feedback we've received, as well as the strategic plan. Next year, we'll have the reopening of Springbrook Golf Course after the major renovation there. And then another big item that we'll work on next year is collaboration with city staff. It's time to revisit and renew the Riverwalk and the Carillon agreements as far as the terms of those agreements. That's something that expires at the end of 2023, so we'll begin work later this year or early 2023 on renewing and updating that for the board and for city council to be able to consider. So overall, what you've heard this evening, I think if I could summarize it, the demands for our programs and facilities I think are as high as what we've seen in the time that many of us have been here. We're seeing a great need for the programs, a great amount of interest in what we have to provide as a park district. Our challenges are being able to provide the staff to be able to meet those needs and provide all of those programs and services, and to meet the maintenance standards that we expect and we know the community expects within the parks. So we will continue to work on those challenges, and as we put together the budget, we will look to bring additional ideas to the board as to how we expect to address them. So that's it.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Rich? No? All right. Thank you, everyone, for putting the time into putting that together. It was really comprehensive. All right. Ordinance 1021, bond parameters ordinance.
Hi, yes, this is just a preview. You'll recall last October, the board approved a parameters ordinance for the refunding of our 2015 bonds in the event that we were going to move ahead and do that, which we did not. So that ordinance expires. They last for 6 months. So at the last Finance Committee meeting, Eric Anderson was there. We had another update on our bond portfolio. We'd like to get another parameters ordinance on the books. Just to have it, the market's been very volatile, even though you've seen increase in rates. There's been some times where they've decreased, where we might consider doing a refunding. So this is not new money. It would just be refunding the 2015 bonds if we can generate enough savings. I would anticipate maybe the meeting on 9/22, yes, 9/22, having that ordinance, bond council would prepare that ordinance and having it on the agenda for your approval. The terms would be similar, and that it would be Brad and myself that would have the authority. If you recall, that's part of the parameters ordinance. We would have the authority, working with Eric, to say yes or no if an opportunity presents itself. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Questions? All right. Thank you. Springbrook Golf Course renovation update.
Thank you, President Gibson. I want to give the board a little bit of an update of how the progress is going with the renovation so far at Springbrook Golf Course. We've been closed since August 1st, so the contractor has been out there for just about 4 weeks now. And overall, we're very pleased with the progress up to date. The weather's been certainly cooperating, and we hope to see that continue. And just wanted to show you exactly what's been going on so far at the golf course. This is kind of just an overview map of what the project looks like, and it kind of shows you how much area is actually going to be under construction for this project. You can see several areas in the light green that are going to be touched by construction at some point in this project. The two big areas that we're going to be concentrating on right now are in the lower right and the lower left. That's the 11th green on the right and the 15th green on the lower left. Those ponds are going to be completely renovated along with the areas around those greens, the approaches, and the fairways. So these are the areas right now that have been under construction these past few weeks. The contractor is starting out in those lower corners, and they're going to slowly work their way back up north towards the clubhouse. This is kind of just an overview of the schedule that the project entails. Just wanted to show you this because there is a lot of things going on at once. There's several areas that are going to be working in hand out there on the golf course. A number of different subcontractors also out there. And we're dealing with a very small window, about 90 days, that we want to get this project completed. So it's very vital that we stay on schedule with this. So looking at a couple of things that have been accomplished out there, this is the 11th green, and some of the goals of this project include trying to make the golf course more playable for all skill levels, and also to try to improve the overall maintenance and ease of maintenance of the golf course. So this is a perfect example, the 11th hole. That's a pond fronting the green, a forced carry for all golfers. So higher handicapper golfers, golfers with less skill, have a very difficult time on this hole. On top of that, you can see the wall in front of the green that fronts that. There's several areas that are sagging down, areas that have overgrown, and there's areas in the wall that are degrading. So a lot of these areas on the golf course are in dire need of repair and replacement. So the crew's been out. This is the 11th hole that we were just looking at, and they just started mobilizing. This is a picture of them mobilizing on the site. This is way back in early August. Excavators are going to start digging out the pond and then removing that wall. If you look on the around the green, you can see the areas that are all kind of browned out. Staff was spraying some non-selective herbicide on that, killing off those grasses that are going to be under construction. Within a week after they moved in the heavy equipment, you can see most of this pond has already been excavated out, and the crews right now are working on pulling out that steel wall. It's been really amazing how quickly they get at this and on how much material they move and how quickly they do. And this is what a current picture of number 11 looks like. You can see the pond has been shifted over to the right. That's that low area. Obviously, that's going to be filled with water eventually. And then you can see some of the features and the mounding around the green. That's all new. And that little green oasis area in the middle of the picture is the green, which staff at the golf course is still maintaining, which is kind of difficult when they have to try to get equipment out there. Shifting over to the other side of the golf course, this is the 15th hole. This is when we're just starting work on the hole. The contractors come in and they rototill all the area that's going to be under construction, and then they're going to start stripping off all that black dirt and stockpiling that for future use. 15 does have its share of drainage problems. There's a number of areas all throughout the golf course. That's one of the goals mainly for this project, is to try to improve our overall drainage on the golf course. So this is after they started excavating the pond. You can see that big old truck. That's a 40-ton dump truck that they've been moving material across the golf course with. And so it's a little bit bigger than your normal Tonka truck that you might see. But it's amazing when they start moving this stuff and they get all this equipment rolling, how quickly all this comes together. And then so some of the fine details. We're shifting now to around a green and bunker construction. And this is kind of where the magic is. It's amazing the skill level of these guys, where they could take a two-dimensional drawing or something on a plan and take it and turn it into a rough shape of a bunker or something like that. So they're going to start with that loader. They start just peeling back and excavating all these areas, creating these features like this bunker right here. And then after that, we have the architect and the contractor. We get out and they get them together, and then we kind of look at the rough grading. This is the front of a green with a bunker to the left. They go through and investigate and make sure everything's up to what the architect wants. Any other little details, they mark those, and then the the rough shapers come back and do any adjustments that need. And then our finished product, well, not completely finished, but this is a bunker that's been completely shaped out, edged out, and now this is ready for our drainage to be installed, a bunker liner, and then sand and sod. And then on the other end of the holes, we have our tees, and kind of the same situation there. They start shaping out these tees. They cut out the areas where the tees are. You can kind of see the stakes and the square shape of the tee, the rectangular shape of the tee. That whole area will have a sod mix or a seed mix put in there. And then this whole area will be seeded. And once it's seeded, and then it's turned over to our staff who are going to be responsible for the growing after that. And you can see on the left, too, there's a cart path that's new construction being put in there, too. And of course, while everything's going on, we're still maintaining the golf course. There's still a lot of areas to be mowed. There's a lot of other things that we're maintaining. But we've significantly pared down our maintenance staff. We're basically down to our full-time employees, our golf maintenance 4s, which are 12-month employees, and our golf maintenance 3s, which are 9-month employees, along with a couple of part-time staff. On the clubhouse side, programs are still going. The driving range, the practice areas are still open, so our assistant professionals are still very busy at Springbrook with programming. And then a number of our staff, we shifted over to Neighborbrook to kind of help with the surge that we have over there. And some staff is even helping out, working here at Fort Hill. And then the range at Springbrook still is going strong. On a daily basis, we have a full rack of players out there practicing between the range and the practice area. So we're really pleased to see that continue. A lot better than we had expected. And then we want to make sure our patrons know what's going on. We've been posting, we've been blogging about our construction here on our golf website, golfnaperville.org. And on a weekly basis, we're including pictures and details about what's going on at the golf course, so everybody can kind of see what's happening out there. I know there's a lot of our golfers that are really interested to see what's happening, what's changing, and how it's all going, how it's all progressing. So at this point, any questions on progress so far? Or oh, knock on wood. Let's keep the weather going.
Can you remind me, when is it expected to be open for play? Because it needs to seed for a while after.
Right. Our goal is late spring, early summer of '23, so next year. Okay. So the contractor is planning on being out of the golf course sometime late October, early November, and then we have that time to start growing everything in and getting all the everything ready for next spring.
Is that a lot of active work from staff, or is it mostly just setting it up and letting it?
No, it won't be. There's a lot of seeding and fertilizing that they're going to assist with, but no, we should be able to handle what the workload is for the remainder of this year with the staff we have.
Great. All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Sure. Right.
You know what? That's kind of funny because, yeah, it's amazing what they did find in those ponds. They found a couple of putters. So there might have been a couple of upset golfers that finally gave up on their putter and just flinged it into the pond.
Thank you. All right. Dupage River Sports Complex Ball Field 4 renovation project.
Yes, so good evening. Contract for this project is anticipated to be presented to the Park Board for approval in September. The project consists of restoring Dupage River Sports Complex Ball Field 4 to regulation standards. The scope of work includes installation of new bases, infield mix, sod, fine grading, and other site work. A total of $80,000 is allocated in the 2022 capital budget for this project. Pending contract approval next month, work is expected to occur this fall. Just an update on that. Huh? No, sorry, I can't. That was an amazing presentation. I can't even color drawings. I can't beat that. So.
The Frontier Sports Complex Rothermouth Family Pickleball Courts Installation Project.
So a contract for this project as well is anticipated to be presented to the Park Board for consideration and approval next month. On February 24th, 2022, the Park Board approved Ordinance number 1013, authorizing the terms and conditions of a grant agreement between the Dupage Foundation and the Naperville Park District. Per the grant agreement, a grant award in the amount of $100,000 for the Rothermel Family Pickleball Courts project is being provided through the Rothermel Family Fund of Dupage Foundation. The contract work to install 6 dedicated pickleball courts at Frontier Sports Complex consists of concrete curbing and flat work, fencing with windscreens, asphalt sports court paving and landscaping, as well as amenities including a shelter and site furniture. The lighting portion of the Frontier Sports Complex Rothermel Family Pickleball Courts installation project will be secured via a purchasing network. A purchase order for the pickleball courts lighting installation work will be presented to the park board at an upcoming meeting. Funds are available within the 2022 capital budget in order to kick off this project this year and to ensure completion prior to August 1st of 2023 as identified in the grant agreement. Pending contract approval, work is expected to commence in the fall with the intent to reach final completion in the first half of 2023. Also, as part of this update, I wanted to share a thought that we had as staff that we discussed earlier this week. And next year, we have plans to renovate 2 existing basketball courts at Frontier Sports Complex. These basketball courts are located immediately to the south of the pickleball court site. And since we're going to have a contract there to construct the pickleball courts, it makes perfect sense to get a number from them through the bidding process of what it would be to renovate those basketball courts. And if we get very favorable numbers, there's a chance we could bring it to you for consideration this fall and fast track this project. So we had a chance to touch base with Sue, make sure we had the funds available for this year, but just a really interesting, creative, strategic idea that we're going to consider and try out with the bidding, competitive bidding market and see what kind of numbers we get and report back.
Great.
So that's an update on that one.
A quick question, Director Sheets. So can you remind us what, I know there are some people that are objecting to the pickleball courts. I assume it's noise and lights or?
Yeah, essentially, we just heard from one individual in particular to the south of the property, and we actually did a lot of work looking at sound and noise and looking at buffering that we have at Frontier Sports Complex, even in comparison to what we have in Nike Sports Complex. And the distance between the proposed pickleball court location at Frontier Sports Complex to the residential properties is actually further away than we already have at Nike Sports Complex. Also, we have existing berms and fencing at Frontier Sports Complex, and with the distance, and we propose new evergreen trees as part of this project as additional buffering. So looking at what we already installed in the park system over the years, which has been extremely successful, we expect there's going to be no problems, no issues with this. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? All right, thank you. Nike Sports Complex Ball Field Improvements Project, dugout shelter purchase.
Yes, thank you. So purchase order secured dugout shelters for the Nike Sports Complex Ball Field Improvements Project is anticipated to be presented to the Park Board for approval in September. As described in the May 12th, 2022 Park Board meeting memoranda for this Nike Sports Complex Ball Field Improvements Project, a new dugout shelters are proposed to be secured via purchase order and procured through a Sourcewell purchasing network. This approach will assist with expediting delivery timeframes. A total of $400,000 is allocated in the 2022 capital budget for this project. Pending contract approval, the dugout shelters installation work is slated to commence in the fall with the goal to reach substantial completion by the end of the year.
Thank you. All right, and Cedar Park, any questions?
Yes.
What's the difference between the existing dugouts and the new?
Yeah, so the existing shelters that we have there now, they were installed in 2007. They're 15 years old. We actually had staff, we spent some time to look at them. We're hoping to maybe refurbish them, and they're very rusted out and falling apart. And so what we identified, the first approach is could we refurbish them, and the answer is no. So then that's why we identified looking at a new product, and so we found a new dugout shelter, but it's very similar in style and structure and so on. It's also a steel structure. So we think the patrons will be very pleased, but we realized the old structures, we were unable to repaint them with the rust and everything else. We really needed new ones.
Is this for both Little League and softball?
Yes, this is for all 3 fields. So I think it's 1, 2, or 2, 3, and 4. Or yeah, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right, thank you. Cedar Park Bridge Replacement Project.
So the scope of work for this project includes evaluation of the existing structure. This is included in our 2022 capital budget. Also looking at proposed bridge design, wetland delineation, and permitting with the city of Naperville, Dupage County, and the Army Corps of Engineers. Within the August 19th weekly packet, there was a board memo identifying this project and that we were going to discuss it today, as well as a cost estimate for the architectural and engineering services for it and the amount of $40,000. Since that time of us issuing that memo in the weekly packet, we had further collaborations with the project engineer, and we found out that we can actually work within the existing structure without removing abutments and earthwork, which will allow us not to pursue the permitting and with the Army Corps of Engineers and DuPage County and the wetland delineation, which will allow us to save quite a bit of money with respect to the engineering and permitting phase of the work. So we're anticipating that the cost of the A&E services as of today would be less than $10,000. So with that being said, we have the funds allocated and budgeted for. We have the ability to approve it at the staff level. But with the understanding, it's great as an opportunity today to share this project with you and let you know that we will be, instead of a complete replacement, renovating this bridge at Cedar Park next year. And with the renovation, that is estimated being over $40,000. So we will be bringing this to you next year for approval, but approval of the renovation. The A&E services we can do at the staff level as far as executing that and moving forward with the project. Any questions on that?
Can you just describe where that bridge is at? Is it along the road?
It's within the park area. There's a pathway that goes through there.
There's that road around it?
And there's a bridge
It's-
within there that needs to be
All right,
replaced,
that's right.
yes. And our staff uses for service and access.
Yeah,
And the patrons mostly walk in there. The patrons, they stop at the parking lot.
right,
But they use it as a pedestrian bridge. We use it as service bridge with our
Okay.
vehicles.
yeah, okay. That's
It's
what I
also on a trail that we use in the fall for the hayride program that accesses the backwoods area of Cedar Park.
All right,
thank
thank
you.
you. Any questions? All right, thank you. All right. The next regular meeting of the Naperville Park District Board of Commissioners will be September 8th, 2022 at 7 PM.
Move to adjourn the August 25th, 2022 regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone.